And a good morning, Birds fans. Appreciate you streaming in with us here on the early AM. It's not Mac and Mac, it's Mac and Mark today. Johnny Mac already making his way over to South Philly for the Eagles joint practice against Colts. That means I get to hang with Mark Farzetta, Mr. Phillies, here on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel, doing the post-game live last night after a good Phillies win, as a matter of fact. I was on the radio after the Phillies win last night till 2 o'clock in the morning. But, yeah, we'll give the Phillies their props, and we'll move on to the reason we're here, which is Birds 365, a.k.a. the hometown football team. And, Mark, neither you and I are going to see it because we're here on the air, but the Eagles are going to put out their star player, their starters and their stars today for the last time before that Sunday up in New England when they're going to honor that Brady guy, when the games actually start to count. This is the last chance for the stars to get out there, stretch their legs, show a little something before the season actually gets underway.
Yeah, it's going to be the last time they're going to face live action that's not their teammates ahead of that regular season opener. So look forward to seeing what the reports are at a camp. And as we all know, you can win a practice nowadays, Jody. So hopefully they win the practice today against Shane Steichen's Indianapolis Colts.
By the way, McMullen hates that, but I will absolutely. It'll be the first question I ask him when he gets back here tomorrow. Did they win? Did they win? Did they win? Yeah, we decide. There's no scoreboard, but you can decide whether a team wins or loses. And, yeah, we all want to see the Eagles win. One thing I do want to see is Brian Johnson, defensive. And I know offense coordinator. I know that, again, no scoreboard, but is he looking to show off a little bit today? Not for Mark Farzetta, Jody McDonald, John McMullen, or anybody else, but for that Sirianni guy. Because standing on the other sideline, it's going to be Shane Steichen, the very successful play caller for the Eagles team that went to the Super Bowl last year. Brian Johnson gets the job, and his predecessor will be on the other side of the field. You think he's reaching a little deeper into the bag of tricks for this one particular practice?
I am curious about this, and I always tell people it's not that different from what you do every day. Like if somebody came into your workplace and you took the job of that person, you kind of want to show them like, oh, hey, this is how you might have wanted to try things. Now, things were great. Those were the great offense last year, made it to a Super Bowl, won the NFC. But I'm curious if there was any play design or anything that maybe Brian Johnson suggested during game planning sessions with all the coaches, including Nick Sirianni and Shane Steichen. Hey, maybe you didn't think this play would work. Well, I got it working now. It looks pretty good. Look how efficient I have this team running. I'm doing just fine and dandy. Now, I'm sure it's a friendly competition. I'm sure there's no bad blood or anything like that. But anytime somebody's watching you do the job that they once did, you want to show them that you have a good handle on things. So I think that'll be a little tiny bit of extra added motivation. And, of course, look good in front of Nick Sirianni there as well with your your predecessor there next to you also.
And, oh, by the way, I think you got a little something extra from the players, too, because they're trying to help out their new coach. But it's also good to show off in front of your old coach. Really, you left you see what we got here? You were calling it late, and you want to go take over that team? You're really sure you made that right decision, Shane? So I wouldn't be surprised if the offensive stars went a little extra to try and make the Eagle offense look good. And it is one of my big questions this year. And John and I have discussed it plenty, and I think you and I might have as well, Mark, when you've done the fill-in thing. I like Brian Johnson as a guy. I think he's done a nice job of expressing himself, and in the very limited amount of information that he gives out, that's an Eagle priority. If you're a coach, you say nothing. You're supposed to be Sergeant Schultz. I see nothing. I say nothing. He's a little bit more giving than Sean Desai is when it comes to information. But I'll be truthful with you. I know nothing about what coach is going to call when the season gets underway. We can't judge these stupid preseason games. The joint practices, I can pick McMullen's brain when he comes back. But, even at that, they're keeping things somewhat under wraps. Vanilla is a word that he's used himself when he's described what they're doing in these. We got no idea what their offense is going to look like, do we?
Outside of Jalen Hurts, hopefully looking phenomenal again, and A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith having 1,000+ yard seasons again, that'd be nice. But other than that, not really. I mean, I'll put it to you like this. all the time we say this with the defense. We say that there's a way that Nick Sirianni likes his defense to operate. Jonathan Gannon followed suit with that. Sean Desai will most likely follow suit with that. It'll have his own fingerprints. But what's to say that Nick Sirianni doesn't have the same type of parameters when it comes to his offense? This is what I like to do offensively. Here's the game plan I like to have each and every week. Here's a couple constants. This is what I think is our bread and butter. Brian Johnson, all right, have at it. Here's the parameters. Run it like that. I think it's going to be very similar to what you saw last year with Shane Steichen. I think the biggest thing is that if you were looking at maybe any other football team, or maybe one that doesn't have the same returning starters and then have the same more or less type of system that you're going to have with Jalen Hurts and all of his core pieces. If you're looking at any other team, you would say, okay, well, there's no way with a new offensive coordinator that can replicate the same type of success. There's going to be changes. There's going to be trial and error. There's going to be more error than most people like. But Brian Johnson was here last year. He was under Shane Steichen. He was obviously under Nick Sirianni. He's got the same quarterback, the same two receivers. The only new guy, even in the receiving core, is Oladame Zaccheaus. And you have the same tight end. You have some different running backs. How are you going to use your running backs? That's probably going to be the biggest difference from last year to this year, from Shane Steichen to this year, is whether or not you're going to see Jalen Hurts throw at those running backs to get close to the same type of offensive success that you had last year. But you're right. I don't know that much about Brian Johnson, but I do know the tools he has at his disposal. So I think if you take away from what you saw last year and how high-flying and how great this offense was, I think they're going to be very close to that same bar and maybe even go past it, considering the stable of running backs they have compared to what they had last year.
Major disrespect to not mention Zach Pascal as a key component of the Eagles. The coach liked him. Head coach liked him a lot because he got out there and blocked well at the wide receiver position. But your point is well taken. Same show. Yeah. A lot of the same stars and actors. The biggest difference is, as you correctly point out, the running back position. And let's go there now, because I want to just get all our streamers and all the Eagle fans who are listening in line. In the last 24 hours, stories developed in the NFL, and sure enough, it's about a team that's going to be in South Philadelphia today. That would be the Indianapolis Colts. Word leaked out that the Colts had given Jonathan Taylor and his agent permission to seek a trade in the National Football League. And of course, anytime a big name player is in the news, becomes available, permission to get traded, all the Eagle fans come out. We got to get him. We can get him. Why can't we have him? He's one of the best running backs in the National Football League. Why wouldn't I go out and get him? Add him to our running back room. Most of what I just said there is true. He is one of the best running backs in the National Football League. Didn't have as good a season, was hurt last year. Year before, he was the best running back in the National Football League. So you want to go back 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, back to 2000, where he is absolutely a top 5 running back, and he's available. There are two chances that the Eagles are going to acquire Mr. Taylor. Slim and none. Oh, wait, Slim just left town, so we're left with none. There is no chance the Philadelphia Eagles are getting Taylor, not because he's not good, and I've heard some people say won't take him because they're now they're a rotational back team. Last year, Miles Sanders got 70%. That's a big number. 70% of the carries for the Philadelphia Eagles. So we're only months away from when the Eagles were a bell cow offense. They could turn back into it very easily. There's only one reason not coming here, Farzy. Money. If he's going to get traded, the team is going to want to make him happy and going to want to give him a contract extension. And it's going to be in excess of the numbers that Barkley signed for and Jacobs is holding out for. It's going to be north of over $10 million. Howie Roseman going to pay running back $10 million?
No, that's not going to happen.
No chance.
No, he's not going to pay. He's not going to pay the running back, and he's also not going to pay the ask of the Indianapolis Colts. Now, I do find it interesting that Roseman and Ballard will be in the same room today, most likely, if Ballard's in town. I don't even know if he's in town with his Colts. I would imagine if you're having a joint practice, you would be here. Right. So I find it interesting that those two will be at least have the opportunity to commit. And here's what I'll say. Now, if you ask me, is Jonathan Taylor going to be a Philadelphia Eagle? No, is the answer to that question. Howie Roseman kicks the tires on everything when it comes down to it. Yes, money, not going to happen. Trade assets when it comes to draft picks, certainly not going to happen. You know, they want similar. I saw the report came out when it came to the Colts front office. They're similar to Daryl Morey. We want to trade our player for someone that's going to help us win now, or someone that will help us win, or an asset that will help us win in the not too distant future. That's, I think, way too high an asking price, even for Jonathan Taylor around the NFL. You can't consistently have the storyline of the NFL that running backs are diminishing in value left and right, and then all of a sudden say, but give us a first-round pick for it. Everybody understands what's going on right now in the NFL when it comes to the running back position. And Jonathan Taylor probably doesn't have that many good years left anyway in the NFL at a high level. And I think that's how the Eagles look at it. That's how most teams will look at it. If you tell me Jonathan Taylor's on the Eagles this season, I'm excited about it, but it's not happening. So I agree with you. I will still give the very slim chance that it happens as opposed to it's not happening.
Yeah, it's not happening. I'm going to go 0.0.
I would bet that. I would bet that.
But I'll disagree with you a little bit in that I think the Colts are going to get a 1. I really do. If he gets dealt at all, there's a pretty damn good chance he goes nowhere. That there just isn't any team that's willing to pony up a 1. But I think there's a better chance that a team does pay the Now, remember, McCaffrey was traded in season last year, so we're less than a year removed from it, for a 2, a 3, a 4, and a 5. Is that the equivalent of a 1? 4 picks. Now, not a 1, but a 2. Right. Does a 3, 4, 5 equate to the jump up from a 2 to a 1? And McCaffrey was an older back. Taylor still on his rookie deal. McCaffrey had already signed his contract extension with Carolina when he got dealt, so you knew what the cost was going to be contract-wise when you acquired him. I think they may get the price. And if Howie's not even, what's Howie going to say? I'll give you a 5 and a 6. Come on, Ballard's going to laugh at him. So you have to have a realistic conversation. No, it's the money. And not even the money this year, because Howie can do some of his cap calisthenics and move guys around, extend guys and dead cap years down the road. If he really wanted to play, he can make it happen for this year's salary cap. But then at some point, the check comes due, and you got to pay it. And I don't think he wants dead cap money that he's taking a hit for 2 years from now, 3 years, whatever it is, for a running back. He's not going to do that. They basically refused to play. They didn't even get into the Miles Sanders bidding because they knew, listen, we're not going to pay this. We're going to acquire a guy on the last year of his rookie contract, DeAndre Swift. We're going to take a guy who's blatantly undervalued because he's always hurt, Rashad Penny. That's what we're going to spend on as far as running back money goes. They're not going to bring in a over $10 million guy. No chance. No shot.
I think everyone's seen the graphic by now. You got everyone in your backfield for the price of Miles Sanders in Carolina.
Yep.
Like, you literally got 4 running backs all under the same price, less than what Miles Sanders is getting in Carolina. So that just goes to show you, of course, again, the nature of the business when it comes and the evolution of the business when it comes to the running back position. And then it also shows you what Howie Roseman is willing to spend. I mean, you look at the linebacker position with the Eagles, you could say they had never valued that. We'll see what N'Kobe brings to the table this year. We've talked about that before. But right after that is running back. They do not value the running back position. Everything is gravy with them. Everything was like house money with them. Low money, not extremely high draft picks, not spending number ones, not spending top 10 picks this year, not trading up to get a guy like Bijan Robinson, for instance. So they don't really value that position. So I don't see them valuing it all of a sudden with Jonathan Taylor. I don't see him valuing it with a first-round pick, certainly. But one thing I will say, as far as a Christian McCaffrey type of deal goes and the amount of picks they were able to get, McCaffrey, older back, certainly. I think it was Deebo Samuel, his teammate out there in San Francisco, that talked about how this is he's a wide back. That's the position he plays, the wide back. Well, he's a back wide, I guess Christian McCaffrey is. He catches more balls. He catches more balls than any running back. He could be a wide receiver. He could be in the slot. So they can get other value for him other than just running back. So that's why I didn't see that as far-fetched as some people thought it was when they made the deal.
Yeah, and then you're right. Maybe it's not complete cover, but one of the top
but
3
I
or 4
understand.
backs
Absolutely.
in the league is one of the top 3 or 4 backs in the league. So I do believe that Taylor falls into that category. So the Colts aren't going to give him away. Who said it last night? I got to try and remember who it was. I want to give him credit, but I can't off the top of my head. They conjectured this is all just an exercise to teach Jonathan Taylor a lesson by the Colts, that they're giving him the right to go out and seek a trade, and they're going to find out that there isn't, if there's one or two teams maybe in the whole league who go, oh yeah, by the way, we'll pay the Colts what they want to get you, and yes, we'll extend you. We'll give you that almost to the $15 million per year deal. Not only are the Eagles not doing it, there might not be another team in the National Football League that says, yeah, we'll pay the price both times in the acquisition cost to get you and make you one of the highest paid running backs. This is a league-wide epidemic, Farzi. Nobody is paying it. They're actually behind closed doors whispers, this is great. We don't even have to pay for running backs anymore. If the general managers all got together and smoked cigars in a room where nobody could listen, they'd all be high-fiving each other. Hey, we've done a great job at bringing the cost of running backs down. He's screwed. Jonathan Taylor is not going to get paid. Everybody wants McCaffrey's deal, and nobody's getting McCaffrey's deal going forward.
Collusion galore.
That's exactly what it is.
I would love to see.
They'll never be able to prove it. They can try, but they'll never be able to prove it.
We're not going to pay them running backs. See?
Exactly. One more thing before we get to our first break, bring up our first guest. Mike Tanier's going to join us, writing for a new website. Great football guy guest we've had on before. But let me ask you this. And Johnny Mack uses this phrase. A lot of guys do. I just hear it all the time from him. With the ones. And you know what that means when they say that they're starters in either preseason games or these dual practices and the like. If you're running with the ones, we know what that designates. In the joint practice they're going to have today against the Colts, I'm pretty sure last week against the Browns, guys who either ran with the ones or ran with the twos were the only ones who played. They didn't get down to the 60 through 90 guys on the roster who probably aren't going to be here, or even the guys who are fighting for those last 5, 6, 7, 8 roster spots. So it's basically the starters and the backups who are going to play in this practice if they do the same thing they did last week against the Browns. Tanner McKee going to get any snaps today?
I think he is. I think they want to. I think the Eagles are at least curious, and they want to see as much of him as possible to really evaluate whether or not he can be the backup quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles. Maybe not week 1, maybe not week 2, but maybe as the season goes on, because Marcus Mariota has shown you nothing. And I understand he's a veteran player, but Tanner McKee might be a better NFL quarterback right now than Marcus Mariota is a better NFL quarterback. Here's the deal. We've seen plenty of evidence of Marcus Mariota not being very good at his job. Tanner McKee, he might. Just the fact that he's not as experienced doesn't mean that he's not as good. The Eagles need a good backup quarterback. And I was happy that they went out and got Marcus Mariota, a guy that could at least be a similar style to Jalen Hurts, keep those running lanes open for the running backs that closed off when Gardner Minshew was in there. But maybe the Minshew route is the way to go as far as a backup. Not a guy that's going to go out there and run for a lot of yards, obviously, but a guy that'll go out there and just make a play for you. Maybe Tanner McKee is that guy. So I think the Eagles are going to want to see as much of him as humanly possible. Maybe, and they're going to certainly see him play. I think the guy that is absolutely on the outs is Ian Book. But what you could see from a guy like Tanner McKee today, what you could see for him on Thursday, might help the Eagles make the ultimate decision as to whether or not he can be the backup for this team this year.
Yeah, Ian Book, get ready to play on Thursday in the preseason game, which is less important than the dual practices. He's going to get a whole lot of snaps there and make it good because you're auditioning for the other 31 teams in the National Football League.
Sure.
We don't think you're going to be here in Philadelphia. If you are, it's going to be on the practice squad, which you'd rather be on a roster. So when you're out there, Ian, light it up. Go ahead. Brian Johnson will be calling in all these fancy plays to show off in that venue as well. Yeah, really interesting, Mark. By rights and means, he shouldn't play today. And I'm talking about Tanner McKee. It should be the ones and the twos. Jalen Hurts is going to get the majority of the snaps because you want to get him some action. Wait a minute. Has he played in any of the pre? No, that's right. He hasn't played at all in the preseason. Not playing on Thursday night. So, yeah, Jalen's going to do most of the rep getting. but then do you actually get McKee? And if you do, you know it's going to get tongues wagging in this town because they are still open to evaluating the backup quarterback position.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be doing it at this stage. It should be your 1 and your 2 are set, and the battle is for the third between Book and Tanner McKee. And I think we're legitimately talking about who is the number 2 quarterback of this team.
Look, if Nick Sirianni wants to shout competition from the rooftops, competition, one of our core values, we like competition. Competition is the greatest thing. We love competition.
Oh, yeah.
If he wants to shout that, then how can you tell me that Marcus Mariota is winning a backup quarterback competition with Tanner McKee? How can you sell me on that with a straight face? And Jody, did you hear Nick Sirianni after the Browns game there, where he talked about how they have to learn? Marcus Mariota is struggling. What's going on there? Yeah, we got to learn Marcus Mariota. We got to learn what he's good at. We got to learn what he's good at. And then he gets asked about Tanner McKee, and he's like, well, we did our homework on Tanner McKee. We know what's going on. How do you know more about Tanner McKee and not know as much about Marcus Mariota, who's played, 90 games in the NFL? Right. That was like grasping at straws to find a compliment for a guy who is struggling here in Philadelphia. Bottom line is, if there's not a competition, there better damn well be by the time camp closes out between Marcus Mariota and Tanner McKee as the backup quarterback. And hopefully, again, they'll never have to use him anyway this season because Jalen Hurts will stay healthy for all 17 games.
And, oh, by the way, that's only today. This is it. Last chance.
Yeah.
Because if Tanner McKee once again looks good against the Colts 3rd and 4th teamers in the second half, all right, we get excited. We throw a parade. We got to keep it in its proper perspective. He's got to play today a little bit in that game against the Colts. Otherwise, people are just going to go, all right, it's Mariota. We're going to sink or swim, and we're probably going to sink, but it's going to be Mariota. Be very interesting how the reps go down in South Philly today. All right, we're going to break is what we're going to do, and then we'll come back with our first guest of the day. Mike Tanier has been on with us plenty of times before, great football insight guy. Got a new home for his writing skills. We'll give you the details on that. Mike Tanier next here on Birds 365.